Hi guys, higher maths, trigonometric expressions or trig expressions. So today we're going to look at exact values and related angles. I'm going to look at exact values first. So we need to know the sine, cosine and tangent of these angles. Okay, because these will come up in a non-calculator exam. So we need to know sine of 0, sine of 30, sine of 45, sine of 60, sine of 90, and also cosine and tangent of those angles as well. So let's look at the 30, 60 and 45 degrees first of all. So if we start with an equilateral triangle of side 2, so 2, 2, 2, as the sides are equal, the angles will also be equal, so we'll have 60 degrees for each angle, which comes from 180 divided by 3, which is 60 degrees. Now I'm going to draw in my line of symmetry here, which I can do and essentially split this equilateral triangle into two right-angled triangles. So looking at the right angle triangle and doing a quick bit of Pythagoras. So here I have the hypotenuse of 2. Remember the base used to be 2, but we've halved that. So the base will now be 1. So I need to calculate the height. 2 squared minus 1 squared is 4 minus 1. Now if I square root that, I will get root 3. So I've used a bit of Pythagoras there to find the height. Okay, just finding the shorter side in the right angle triangle using Pythagoras there. Now, as I was saying just before, we need to know the exact values of the sine of 30, cos of 30, and the tan of 30. Well, sine of an angle is the ratio of the opposite side to the hypotenuse. So here's my 30 degrees. Opposite the 30 degrees, I have 1. The hypotenuse, which is opposite the right angle, is 2. So the sine of 30 is 1 divided by 2, opposite divided by hypotenuse. So the sine of 30 is 1/2. The cosine of 30 is the adjacent side, which is the side next to the angle we're looking at and the right angle. So the adjacent side is root 3, the hypotenuse is 2, so the cos of 30 is root 3 over 2. And the tan of 30 is the opposite side, which is 1, divided by the adjacent side, which is root 3, 1 over root 3. We can repeat that process for sine, cosine, and tangent of 60 degrees. So here we're looking at this angle, so the opposite side will be root 3, the adjacent side will be 1, and the hypotenuse will still be 2. And following a similar method, sine of 60 is root 3 over 2, cos of 60 is 1/2, tan of 60 is root 3 over 1, which is just root 3. And let's look at the 45 degree triangle as well. So starting off with an isosceles triangle, so this length and this length are equal. We're going to label those as 1. These angles will be equal, so they'll both be 45. Bit of Pythagoras, 1 squared plus 1 squared equals the hypotenuse squared. Calculate that, the hypotenuse will be a length of root 2. So using either of the 45s, it doesn't really matter. Sine 45 will be the opposite divided by the hypotenuse. Cos 45 will be the adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. And tan of 45 will be the opposite divided by the adjacent. So we're going to have sine 45 is 1 over root 2, as is cos 45. And the tangent of 45 will be 1 over 1, which is 1. So I've put those values into a table here. So it's sine of the angle. So sine 30 is 1/2. Sine 45 is 1 over root 2. Sine 60 is root 3 over 2. We also need to know the 0 and the 90 degrees. So if I was ever asked to find that, guys, I would just do a very, very quick sketch here. So here's my sine graph. So the sine of 0 is 0 because when we're 0 degrees along on the x-axis, the graph is a height of 0. The cosine of 0 is 1. Because when we're 0 degrees along on the x-axis, the graph's at the height of 1. And the tan of 0 is 0, because when we're 0 degrees along on the x-axis, the graph is a height of 1. The tan of 90 is undefined. The graph never touches 90 degrees. The cosine of 90 is 0. The sine of 90 is 1. Okay, so I've added in those values as well. So we need to know these. We need to either learn them or we can just draw the triangles out. Either one is totally fine. So you might just want to draw the triangles. You might want to learn the table. It's totally up to you. And we do mention radians here, which we'll find out more about in a couple of lessons' time. So ignore that just now.